important part of my recovery, and I think she has a good message to share with us. She's one of those people where sponsorship is a true two-way street. I mean, I can say, hey, can I run this by you? And she'll say, yeah, be honest with me. And that's what I needed in my program today. She works the program of Narcotics Anonymous, and I love her. So with that, here's Belinda.
I swear a lot. If it offends you, I'm sorry, but that's just where I'm at. I'm an addict. My name's Belinda. I'm working on that stuff still, and I don't know. Everybody says, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous? Are you nervous?" And I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah." But that's okay. And a good friend of mine told me once, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel and be where I'm at. Because I ran for years from how I felt. I gotta hold something. All right, God, come on. See it here. I grew up in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm growing up in Narcotics Anonymous. My first convention was in the little building over there. We weren't this big yet. And I thought that we were fucking huge. And I said, damn, look at all these addicts. Just like me, man. And I loved it. And I love the people in Narcotics Anonymous. They showed me how to love myself. And it's been a hard progressive thing for me, is how to learn to love myself. I've always been really good at running, and not dealing with it. And, all day I kept thinking I can just get in my truck and head down the road. That's the way I was the day I got married. I should have ran. Oh, God. Not because that person wasn't a good person. It was just that I didn't know what the fuck I wanted. And I thought that I was doing the right thing. But that's in the story somewhere. And I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of recovery stories, a lot of stuff I know I could never get to in the lot of time that we have. Talk about my family here, I guess. Crazy. Crazy family. My parents are both from Morgantown, West Virginia. And and I didn't know that because I was born in New Mexico and lived in Las Vegas. I was cool. And then my parents got divorced, and then we moved to West Virginia. I was like, well, what the fuck, man? I wanted to be a go-go dancer. I had this vision of what I was going to be when I grew up. At 7 years old, and I was already an addict because I went through boys like nobody's business. When I was in kindergarten, I'd beat you up if you weren't my boyfriend. and once too many, thousands never enough. Candy. I used to steal money from my brothers to buy candy. I did shit like that. So When we came to West Virginia, my mom had to work 2 jobs. My father was in the Air Force, but he was never around. And when he was, it wasn't pretty, especially for me. Anyway, I was Daddy's girl, and he didn't know how to love somebody like me. So anyway, that's the kind of shit I was dealing with as a kid. And I wasn't really dealing with it. I found that it was easier to escape into my mind and create a fantasy. And I'd spent a lot of time in my room growing up. Didn't know what, I started learning what AC/DC meant on the radio, and I thought that was cool. I said, AC/DC. So one plays music and the other plays shit, I guess, I don't know. I just started escaping from life, and that was easy, I guess, when you're creative. And I remember going to my father's farm, and there was this little spot that I picked. It was like where I would transform into this new world. And I was probably about 10, 11 years old. And so my parents didn't really know how to love either. I don't think they were ever shown how to love. And I worked a lot, cleaning house, farming. Like my dad had a garden, and I called it the rock garden because I had to carry rocks all day. And, so labor of love was, I guess, what we were taught. And so my mom was working all the time, so my brothers and my sister, they were probably my role models. And I was close to my brothers and my sister. And my sister was like my surrogate mama, and I followed her everywhere she went. And I really looked up to her. And I don't know, I guess my mom had issues with, of her own. And, and she used to be really harsh to me. And I don't know if it was because she felt like I could handle it, or if she was closer to me than anybody else. But she used to beat the shit out of me. I never understood why. I think because she didn't, understand my relationship with my dad. And I didn't understand my relationship with my father either. But I was looking for love, and I, I couldn't get what I needed. And, so my relationship with my sister was very important. And I would go to school, and I'd feel different than everybody else. And and I wouldn't tell anybody about my life at home. Like stuff that I loved to do, ride bikes. I was a very, I loved the world, I loved nature. I wanted to save everybody. I wanted this planet to be clean. I hated people that polluted. So I had like goals and aspirations, and and I used to draw all the time, and I loved it. And I did good in school. I was probably the smartest kid in my class, and I loved that. I was like, I had something and to give to the world. And so all that stuff that I had going on didn't make up my character at that time. And but it was really hard for me to get away from it because my spirit was, it was dead. And I kept looking for something, to make me feel better. And and I started hanging out with wild kids, and because they were more fun, and I started doing stuff like stealing. I found out it was, cool to go into a store and stuff my pockets full of candy and shit and not get caught. And so then I started doing that shit all over the place. I took my brother downtown one time and told him to stuff his shirt into his pants. And if he didn't do it, I was going to kick his ass. and because he always did everything I wanted him to do. And he did it, and we got caught, and my mom had to come and get us, and it was a mess. But, it's like, I don't know, that's, not all kids do that stuff, but, I was rebelling. And I thought that there was something wrong with me for years, that and it was just probably the most normal reaction you could have to the kind of stuff that I had to deal with. And, it was like, it was more like a, I'll show you, I'll hurt me kind of stuff. And, I don't know. All this is coming to me so, like, my heart's beating a mile a minute right now. And I don't want to look at anyone. But I can't hide. That's what recovery has given me, to face my fears, to walk through them and know that I'm not going to die and I'm not going to get high. I don't have to get high. And people before me have experienced these things, and I can see that it didn't kill them, and they made it through. And that's what I need. I need people that have been through and didn't get high when I got here. And so with those friends that I used to hang out with, actually I tasted my first drug when I was 4 and fell in love with it, and I used to hide the Vicks cough syrup when I was 12. My mom kept buying a bottle after bottle, and I just liked the numb feeling that I got. And but my friend's uncle had weed, and I thought, well, I know I'm not supposed to do that. My sister told me that drugs were bad, and I said, okay, I'll try it. And I tried it, and I didn't really get high, but I pretended like I did. I'm really good at acting and pretending things. And, that's another thing recovery has taught me. It's like, I got to get rid of that mask. I got to quit faking shit. I know people used to say fake it till you make it, and I can't. Because I need to be honest with where I'm at. So that's just me. I don't like faking it. I don't like covering shit up. I don't like being dishonest. I did enough of that, and I don't get better when I'm hiding. That shit exposed gets, in the darkness it grows, and in the light you get, expose that shit, and it's like, why was I running? Why was I hiding? Because people in these rooms are here for me, and they love me, and together we can get through anything. And I forget that sometimes. Not so much anymore, but I have. That I'm, just because I'm sick, and I think people's outsides, look better than how I feel. It's like, then they're all better. I'm the only sick addict. That's not true. People go through life, and just because you're clean for a while doesn't mean you're, cured. I'm not. First got clean, 1985. Went to, I met a guy, and I was saving myself for the one guy that was going to make me well, better, whole, whatever, complete me. And I found him, and he was a rough boy from Pittsburgh, PA, and he rocked my world. But my mom at that time let him move in with us. And she didn't, I don't know if she knew or not, but, I think she was tired. She was tired of dealing with us. And we put her through hell, and we were, pretty wild at this point. And so, I was happy because I had what I wanted, and and I was using at this point every day, robbing my neighbors to get high and things like that, and skipping school. I'd go in one door and out the other. I think I went 2 days to high school, and slept the whole time I was there, and so all those dreams, all those things that I had planned didn't make it, weren't happening. I had new plans, new dreams. I was going to smoke pot with my kids and die on the porch, rocking in a chair, getting high. That's what I was going to do. I had some people in my life that I looked up to. I had an uncle, he was a biker from Baltimore, and he said, "Damn girl, if I could get high off of weed like you do, I'd be happier and shit." And, so I thought that was cool. My uncle liked me, because I liked him, because he had good dope. I liked to go stay at his house, and, but I started isolating everybody else in my life. I mean, I didn't have a relationship with my sister anymore. She was getting married, and one of my brothers has a mental illness, and he used to like to beat the shit out of me too. He liked to threaten my life on a daily basis, and I never wanted to come home. And I came home one day, and there was like we lived next to the state farm in Morgantown. I used to go down there and get cow shit and throw it in my room, stuff like that. And I'm like, I felt so loved. I thought, you know what? I just need to get him high. And I did. And, I started getting my older brother high. And then I started getting my younger brother high. And so that's what I did. And then we were playing music really loud. And the landlord kept complaining, but my mom was never home. And we kept getting these warning notices and saying that if we didn't stop, that we were going to be evicted. And I was 14. I didn't care. That didn't matter to me. And, well, it did, but, what could I do about it? And so I kept throwing them away. And then one day my mom got a letter, and he talked to her, and we had to leave, and my family had to split up. My mom went to her boyfriend she was seeing. My little brother went with my dad. My oldest brother got married at this time. My sister was married, and my other brother, he went off to school, college. My dad put him in school, and I didn't have nowhere to go. And so I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? And I started staying with everybody I knew. And my son's father, he became my son's father later, but he went back to Pittsburgh. And so I was running streets. I was 15 and, living where I could live, and people that would let me stay there. And, and I was okay with that because I thought that was cool. I would do shit like hitchhike to school and hang out, go find people to hang out with and stuff like that. And but eventually my aunt took me in, and my son's father came back to stay with me, and I got pregnant. And I had to stop getting high every day, and that was hard. I had to pray, and I didn't pray to God that much. I did believe in God, a higher power. I wasn't brought up in a real religious home, but I knew that, something was out there watching me and keeping a record of everything I've done. And, I knew for sure I was going to hell. But I didn't want to get high. And I couldn't drink anything because, made me sick. So I didn't use really when I was pregnant. I was living in a little bitty trailer down in the holla, and I had no running water, nothing. And I was carrying water in a spring. And I was 15, and but I thought I was an adult. I'd experienced enough in my life to where I thought I was an adult. But my life just got progressively worse. I mean, my son was born and it was on again, and I was trying to pawn him off with people to watch him all the time so I could get high and party. And, and I didn't think, that was going to be like that. I wanted to be a good mom. I wanted to be there, and I couldn't. Because I was using came first, and that obsession to use would come, and I had to go. And I was looking for somebody to take care of my son, and looking for somebody to get me stoned, and my son's father was in and out of my life all the time. I lived in Pittsburgh, had apartments, people coming to my house. And I was afraid to open the door, stuff like that, I'm sure y'all been there. And if not, I'm sure you have some experience you can relate to. And that wasn't what I wanted, It's really not what I wanted. I'd really, truly, deep down wanted to love myself, to love my son, to love my son's father, to have a good life. And I couldn't do it. So, on and off for the next 5 years, I was ripping relationships apart, killing the love that I had for anybody and anything except for using. And one time my cousin came and stayed with me, and she wouldn't let me use around her, so we played cards a lot, and so I got obsessed with that, and at one time I picked up some colored pencils and I started drawing, and if somebody can relate to that, and then I remembered that I liked to draw, and for about 10 seconds, and as soon as my cousin was gone, I was doing all that shit again. When I was 18 years old, this is pretty significant to me because this is pretty painful shit, all that stuff that I had done to people when I got here, I hated myself for. I couldn't stand myself. And, I was 18 years old, my son's father and I, his name is Keith, used to abuse the shit out of each other emotionally, and we really never really got physical. Oh, he chased me up the street with a knife once, and was going to kill me, and I probably deserved to be killed in some way, but I wasn't trustworthy, and I put myself in an abused, battered woman's home and lied, said that he beat the shit out of me so I could get away from him, so I could use and do what I wanted to do. And then I put my son in a foster home because I wanted to get high and I didn't want to have to deal with him. And God, this is wonderful stuff, isn't it? And let's see. So finally, I'm like, my son's in a foster home, I'm in a homeless or a battered women's shelter, and I'm, loving every minute of it. No, I wasn't. I hated every minute of it. My mom came to see me, and she said, "Where's Craig?" That's my son. And I said, "He's put him in a foster home because I don't think I can take care of him, and I don't want him here." And she said, "Well, let's go get him." And she went with me, and we got my son back, and then she took me into her house. And, and I ended up going to Houston, Texas, with my son's father. And this is where, I started really, really being sick of myself. And, I got into babysitting kids when I was there for his family. And I'd be up all night partying and then have to get up and watch kids at 6 a.m. And I thought, why me? Why can't somebody else babysit the kids? Because I didn't want to do it, And like I would wake up and they would have like tapes all raveled up, all on the floor. My son tried to light the bathroom on fire and stuff like that. He remembers this stuff. He's 29 today, and he was five then. And but anyway, they kicked me out. Shit was going on. Went to a bar, didn't come home. Some guy lectured me all night, telling me what a fucking piece of shit I was for trying to mess around with my old man and get fucked up all night and leave my kid not taking care of my responsibilities. And I thought, you loser, just get me high, And so he took me back and dropped me off at this place that I lived with his family. And his father was standing outside watching this guy let me out of his car. And they thought I was messing around. And they kicked me out. I ended up in a homeless shelter in Houston, Texas, with a bunch of people I didn't know. And it was full of cockroaches, and the windows had holes in them, and it was cold. And I think it was the first time I ever snowed in Houston, Texas that night. And I was in the bed with the scabies or something, I don't know, and with my son. And it was nasty, and I didn't care because I just knew that I had to get high again. And as soon as I could get some weed and some money, we were coming back to West Virginia. And I did. People helped me get back here, and the bus driver on the bus had to wake me up several times to take care of my son because I was wasted and passed out. And so when I got back to West Virginia, my mom had all my stuff in boxes, and my brother had moved in. And I thought, oh no, what about me? How self-centered we are. That's my room and my stuff. And I don't know. I think I had enough of abusing myself and doing things that degraded myself in my own eyes. And I hurt enough people. And I really, really did love my son's father, and I wanted him back. He would never believe me that I didn't sleep with this guy. And, so I thought, well, I need to get help. Maybe I need to see a psychiatrist. And my mom took me to one of those once. And so I went to a treatment center, and they asked me how much I used, and I lied. And I told him I didn't, use as much as I did. I mean, I was sort of honest with him. I wasn't going to lie to use. And I had a history of, wanting to kill myself. And I told him I wanted to die. And they said, well, would you try this treatment center? And I said, oh, I guess so. And, there's men in there, I'm in. If there's cute guys, I'll go. And, of course, that's always an attraction for me. And in Narcotics Anonymous, there's plenty of cute guys. Yeah, all right. Anyway. So I'm in treatment. For 25 days, I get my first pass. And in my first pass, do I go to see my son? No. I call some guy to come and get me. And so we can go have some fun. And he's got some drugs in his vehicle. And right in front of me, and I just, used them. And went back to the treatment center and told them what I did, and they kicked me out. And back then, this is in 1985 in Morgantown, West Virginia. They didn't take you to Narcotics Anonymous meetings. They took you to somewhere else. So I knew about that fellowship because my son's father's mother was in it for years. They tried to get me to go to meetings. I went to another fellowship meeting once when I was 16, and I thought, you people are weird. You're sick. I'm not that bad. But I was at that point where I knew I was bad. And, while I got kicked out of treatment, my sister brought me back. But she didn't bring me back for treatment. She brought me back for mental illness because she thought I was crazy because I was out of it. And while I was in there again, and this is the 8th floor that someone else was talking about, but it wasn't the treatment center, it was the mental ward, and I swear to God that they were about ready to send me down to the mental state institution for life, and I was scared. I was afraid. I was afraid that I was going to be locked up for life. One of those behavioral dysfunctional people that can't control themselves, and I'd be on Thorazine the rest of my life or something. But then this really attractive, good-looking, single PI committee came walking through the door, and he was putting up flyers and hanging it up on the 8th floor, and in a long black coat, and I thought he was really cool looking. And then I went to check out this poster, and it said, "Hope without dope." And I said, wow, that's it, man. That's what I need, some hope without dope. Because I didn't have any. And, I was pretty sure that the people in the institution there in the 8th floor were about lying about my drugs that they found in my system. They were telling me they found all this shit in my body that I didn't take. I'm like, God damn, I'm fucked. I gotta do something. And so I talked to my mom, and I said, Mom, I need to get out of here. And I need to get out of here fast because I think they want to send me down to Weston, which is the mental ward, the state hospital in West Virginia that I was afraid to go to. And because I was nuts. And so when I got out, I started going to meetings on my own, and I started looking for those meetings that they were talking about, ones that had the hope without the dope, and nobody seemed to know where to go. And then this one girl, she was really cool. She wasn't from Morgantown. And I asked her, I said, you ever been to an NA meeting? And she said, yeah, I've been to those. And I said, well, where can I go? Where can I find one? and she told me how to get to an NA meeting. And they had one in the hospital at that time, and I don't know why they didn't tell people about it, but they didn't tell me anyway, because they probably thought I just had an alcohol issue. And because I did love it. But that wasn't my problem. And, so I found NA. I went to my first NA meeting in the hospital. It was on a Sunday night in Morgantown, West Virginia. And there was a woman in there that I knew already. She was coming to meetings, LOF. And so I didn't feel so alone, but I didn't talk to anybody. I went in there and I was checking it out. And then I went to my second NA meeting, and this is where I met some of the people that changed my life. And one of them became my first NA sponsor. And I think they were all scared of me because I did shit at 3 months clean. Like my aunt called me and asked me to help her go beat the shit out of somebody. And I had enough anger in me at that time with myself that I would do it, and I did. And first time I ever had to face a judge, I was clean. And he said, you better clean yourself up. And I thought, well, I'm clean, man. I don't want to be like that, I don't like that part about me. I don't like the part about me that would just have no conscience. of doing things. And that's the way I lived. I didn't live with a conscience. And I have one now. So I beat the shit out of myself for that. And I went to an NA meeting and shared about it. And the woman sitting next to me scooted over. And, and everybody kind of like looked at me like, oh my God. And, but they all came up and hugged me after the meeting and said, love you, keep coming back. And I did. And, but I got involved with somebody, and that kind of took precedence over meetings for a while. And when they dumped me, I said, God, what am I going to do? I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I read the White Book, and it talked about obsession, and I knew where I needed to go because I knew that, that this disease is more than drug use, and, I can't live without something. I had to have something, and, and that something that I needed wasn't in a guy, it wasn't in a drug, it wasn't in anything. And I knew it was in Narcotics Anonymous because I understood every word I read in that White Book. It was me. So I went there, and that same woman that I knew all this time, I said, will you be my sponsor? And she said, make a commitment to Narcotics Anonymous, and I'll be your sponsor. And I said, okay, no problem. I'm done. I'm there. I'll do anything that you tell me to do. And I started working steps. I started serving Narcotics Anonymous. I had a sponsor at one time, but it wasn't NA, and I didn't know how to work steps. It was in my head, and that's not a good place to work step. And my sponsor at that time, I said, I want to work 4-step. She said, well, go to NA and get a 4-step guide. And I said, oh, there's something wrong with this picture. And I knew, it was like, man, that's my higher power telling me something then. And I was like, man, I'm home. Once I worked that first step, I was like, all those friggin' light bulbs went off and said, woohoo, you're an addict. And that's what's wrong with you. And you just need, other addicts. That therapeutic value. One addict helping another. I remember going to church one time. It was Easter weekend, and they frowned on that because you only come once a year. Right. But I don't have anything against religion at all, unless it's tried to be enforced on me. And I'm pretty open to what anybody else believes. But I needed help, and I was going to get baptized, and I asked this lady, I was like, and I told her, I said, I'm going to get high when I get home. I just told her, I said, I'm going to get high, and she said it was okay. And I didn't want to hear that it was okay. I wanted to hear, you don't have to fucking get high, And that's what Narcotics Anonymous has taught me. You don't have to. You don't have to use. And, and that, hit me here. It was like, I don't have to fucking get high anymore. And, because this disease had me in the grips, man. When I got here, and I was kind of grateful that I was an addict because I was nuts, but now, I'm getting better. I'm dealing with it. I'm facing it. I'm recovering, and all those behaviors and things that I don't have to act out on that shit today. And, and that's been a long-ass haul, too. Because when I like something, I'll love it to death. And, some of those behaviors were, fun and painful, but fun. And, I like sex, drugs, rock and roll, and, and I didn't know who I was when I got here. I didn't know. I knew that, I liked certain things, and I like to do certain things. I love to dance, and I know Bert was very touching when he said that last night when he was sharing about me dancing and stuff, because that's what I lived for. I lived to boogie down and shake my booty, and and I like to get all dressed up and all that stuff when I was new, because I didn't feel good about myself when I was using and doing that stuff, and so when I put on a nice dress and some makeup and I can shake my ass and feel good, why not? And I wasn't hurting anybody, Of course, I don't look good in short skirts anymore, and can't dance either that well, but I still love it, and I like to do that stuff. And it wasn't like, degrading anymore. I did that stuff to attract men in the past, and then it became something that I actually loved. And Narcotics Anonymous has given me that gift to find those things that I love. So I really was 21 when I got clean, so, I was growing up in Narcotics Anonymous. I had the emotional level of probably a 5-year-old sometimes. I'd call people up and just cry because I couldn't deal with life and stuff, and I still do. I still want to run away. So I experienced everything you can, you're supposed to experience, I guess, like working steps, service work. I got involved big time, H&I, literature. I started getting involved with all that stuff. And, the language in Narcotics Anonymous became very important to me. I started having to look up words in a dictionary so I could understand them. Like the Just for Today. Today, that word incorrigible, I didn't know what the fuck that meant. But I knew my son was that. And I was like, he's got to be. Because he gave me my money's worth of recovery. I had to use it on him, and but that's not true. My son's not incorrigible because I thought he was going to be a serial killer, and he's not. It goes to show what my head thinks is not always true. And I don't know. I prayed for him like nobody's business. I was like, God, man, you got to take care of him because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a parent. Look what the hell you're dealing with, And somebody suggested I go see a counselor, but I never took those suggestions until the principal of his school came to me and wanted to put him on some kind of medicine. And I said, you don't need medicine. That shit don't work. And so I went to see a counselor, and the counselor told me the problem wasn't my son. It was me. And I didn't know how to be a parent, and I needed some help, and I needed to have some parenting skills, and that's cool because I was open to change. I was open to that stuff because of this program. And this man, he may not have been in Narcotics Anonymous, but he helped change my life too. I had learned something. My mind was open to new things. And, my son doesn't know. This guy to him was just fucking asshole. And, to me, he was, he didn't reject me, either. And, it was like, I started understanding that people in the world were not bad. People were here to help me. If I just had to open myself to it. And, but that, maybe I should have I guess you are where you are when you need to be. there. And, you know, my son is like the most important person in my life. And shit, we have a beautiful, beautiful relationship. I'm gonna cry.
Go for it.
He's cool as hell. He's watched me go from relationship to relationship, and he's hated every guy I've ever been with because they weren't his fault. But he, you know, talk about unconditional love. You know, he used to tell me I was a bitch, and he hated me, but that was because I was trying to be a good parent, and I wanted him to do well. And, you know, and I couldn't live with myself if I didn't start being responsible for my own life and taking care of my son. And, like, I had to learn how to tell him no. You can't. You know, because I was always like, yeah, sure, go. You know, or let somebody else deal with it. And, you know, so that was like a mountain that we had to climb. And it wasn't easy because he was used to the way I was before and not giving a shit. And you know, and I was trying to get in his life. And you know, thank God it happened. You know, and when he was 14 years old, 13, 14 years old, I was married to somebody in the fellowship. And, you know, and they really, really tried hard to build a relationship. And, you know, and you know, but I started seeing my, like, desire to be in that relationship wasn't happening. And, you know, and I started, like, trying to blame things, find excuses so I could get out and run away instead of stick it out. And so I, you know, I do what I do best, man. I fuck it up good. And you know, and then I walk away. Like, you know, I don't have to deal with that because I'm not there. And I hurt this person, and I have to live with that every day. But I see him in the rooms, you know, that's taking some time. You know, I love him. Him and I are good friends. And, you know, I take him to the grocery store when he needs to go, or I was when I was back home. But, you know, it's like he hated me. He couldn't, you know, I hurt him. And I hated myself. And, you know, and I knew that, like, if I was ever going to make it in this world, in any relationship, I had to change some of that shit that I do. And I was like, so I made a decision that I was never going to do that again. And I didn't have to. So I don't have to. And, you know, and that was a painful lesson. And that's what, you know, I have had in my recovery, some painful lessons. Some of them weren't so painful as that, but they're painful because I fight it, and you know, I don't like them. But I don't not go to meetings just because I don't want to deal with myself anymore. You know, I mean, I know that I have to be there. I have to face the stupid shit that I do, and ask for help, pray about it, share about it, write about it. Work some steps. Jeez, work the steps or die, motherfucker. That's what they used to tell me. They were, you know, I loved you talk about language in Narcotics Anonymous, man. It's like, I get all like bent out of shape when I hear like things changed, or people get like, for me, speaking is sharing my story, and it's just me when I hear people say, "You sharing your lead?" And I'm like, "What the fuck's that?" And that's the truth. I don't, because when I got here, NA was looked at, in question, and if at all, and today, Narcotics Anonymous is helping addicts stay clean and live, and, so it's sacred to me. The language that we use in here is sacred, because that's how I identify myself in these rooms, and I need that to stay. It's like, I want this to stay Narcotics Anonymous. That's just my opinion, but that's it. If I don't say it, I won't like myself. And I don't know. I don't want to see like Narcotics Anonymous change, but I do want to see it grow, and it doesn't have to change, because there's room in here for everybody, and regardless of where you come from, what you wear, and what you drive, who gives a shit? I don't. I want to know how'd you work that step, man? Well, how does that work in service? Because that sounds pretty screwed up to me. I want to learn. That's what I came here for, to learn how to live. I had no idea what I was going to come up here and share, because I tried not to think about it. I kept trying to pawn it off on somebody else. Because I know they had somebody backed up if I didn't want to do it, or I couldn't make it. So I'm painfully sharing this. It's like, God, man, I hope you share some good shit tonight. And it's like coming to the convention. When I first came to the conventions, everybody's like, go to the convention and learn something cool and bring it back and share it with us. And I was like, okay. And there's like, man, I'd come to the convention and I'd hear all this good shit, and I wanted to share it. I wanted to be cool like that, and give it away. And and then it became more than that. This was, to me, it was like the big circle of higher power shit. And like when we would get out there and get in the circle, and I could just feel some kind of force, that force that keeps us clean kind of stuff. And, and I knew it was working in everybody's life that was standing in that circle. And, and that people that were clean when I got clean, man, they were like gods to me. I put them up on a pedestal, and they fell off, but I still worshipped their recovery, because that's what I wanted. Because they were awesome, and so I listened a lot. I didn't talk a lot. I listened to what they had to say. Because I didn't want to screw things up for everybody else, and I had a passion. I had a passion for this recovery. And they used to say, "Well, chase it like you chased your dope." So I can't do that. I have the passion to do that, but once I started on that journey to myself, and I found myself in steps, and who I was, and I wasn't such a bad person, that I was sick, and I did all that shit because I was sick, and I admitted that. I started feeling like it was going to be okay, because it was like I had to like slow down. And I was running and running and running and running. Finally, I just had to stop and say, look, that's you. And it's a part of you. And the solution became available to me. And it's like, okay, that's the problem, here's the solution. So what you going to do? And I want the solution. And I don't know. I know everybody that comes up here and shares says how much they love Narcotics Anonymous and this convention, but nobody loves Narcotics Anonymous and this convention more than me. And, you know, and I don't know, talk about dreams. I'll talk about that for a minute, you know. I went back to school. Well, first I had to get my GED. And I didn't do that by myself either because I suck at math. And so I got help from somebody in Narcotics Anonymous. And they helped me study math. And I still suck at math. And got my GED. I worked as a housekeeper in a sorority, and all these chicks were running around thinking they're smart. And I thought, well, if you can do it, so can I. You know, so I thought I'd go to school and be something, and I did, and I had a 3.58, and I thought that was spectacular for me, because I couldn't read when I got here anymore. It was all mumbo jumbo to me, and I couldn't focus. I lost a lot of that shit, and so I did. I got a degree in art, sculptor, you know, and yeah. And, but I thought, you know, I guess I better mention this because this is reality. I went back out. And thought I could do it on my own because I was smart now. And, yeah, I won't do that shit no more. I didn't do that shit. I did other shit. Yeah. And started doing shit like I sent my son to Hawaii so he didn't have to be around me. He went to live with my brother. And I was like, man, this is all too familiar. And, you know, and people in the rooms, and all I could think about was like, man, Belinda, you know, you're fucking up. And I knew it. I couldn't stand myself again. And my son was telling me my brother's getting him high. And he's having to score dope for him and shit like that. And I said, man, you're coming home. I got my son back and came back to meetings. Got clean before he came home. Went to meetings. Got a home group again. And I did everything that this program taught me to do. And I ended up moving in with my mom again. And, you know, I just wanted to live. Just, you know, live a normal life. And nothing spectacular anymore. I couldn't even get a job. So I had a degree. And, you know, but I didn't have my self-esteem. I didn't have my self-respect. I didn't have the relationship that I have with my son. I didn't have it. So, you know, what good is a fucking piece of paper? And it doesn't make me, you know, a smart addict. It can be pretty fucking dumb. And and so when I came back into the rooms, people weren't like, you know, my head was my problem, was telling me that people didn't want me back. And so I just, you know, I'll show you, I'll stay clean. And I did. And, you know, and I was lonely as hell. And I got involved with somebody, and they weren't clean. We were together, and my brother moved in with my mom and bought the house and kicked me out. And I ended up moving in with this guy, and I was trying to fix him. Trying to say my love will save him. He'll get clean. We'll be happy. It didn't happen, and so that was in '98 and that wasn't '98. I'm sorry. That was '95, '96, and 3 years went by, and I was trying to stay clean and living with somebody and using. That don't feel very good. That's just pain. That's pain. A lot. That's like kill your spirit till there's nothing left kind of stuff, where you want to die. You don't want to get high, but you want to die kind of stuff, or kill him, and yeah. I had a counselor tell me once I was healthy if I thought about homicide instead of suicide anymore, So I must be pretty healthy, and I was sick, real sick, and I couldn't leave, and so I went down to Florida with him, and I said, promise me you won't get high. And he promised me. And that lasted a month, and I had nobody down there with me, no one, except for me and God. And I started reaching out again to people in Narcotics Anonymous. I was clean. I hadn't been using. I relapsed after 3 years with this guy, but I just had enough. And I went to Florida, and I started going to meetings there and calling people back here. And we made poetry on the phone about how this guy sucked. And it kept me clean. And it kept me alive. And they got me through it, and I started focusing on me, which was my problem, and I got a job working with kids down there, and they put me in charge of kids. The person that doesn't know how to take care of kids, they put me in charge of taking care of kids, and and they loved me, and wow, they were spectacular at art. They liked making art, so we connected. And I just, realized that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to teach kids art. And, so that made my life pretty fucking good. Going to meetings. I met a girl down there. She was Puerto Rican. And she said, hey, she's the first person to hug me down there. And she said, hey, where are you from? I said, I'm from West Virginia. She said, oh, yeah, I was in prison there. So you bet you like me. She became my sponsor down there. And I flew down there about 5 years ago and stayed at her house. We went to the Orlando convention, and which is really cool. The area, I don't think they have it that much anymore. There's not enough people in service. But it was cool because there were 2 people from this region at the same convention, and we didn't go down together. It's a small world in Narcotics Anonymous. They're real small. Yo Steve was speaking in Pittsburgh one time when I was there. I thought that was real cool because I saw him here, and I was like, man, God works in Narcotics Anonymous through us. And, it's like I found out that, I get what I need. If I'm working for it, if I work for it, I get it. I got to put in some effort, but I got to look for it, I had to reach out. I had to keep myself alive and keep myself clean. Because nobody's going to fucking call me on the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm hurting, thinking, I knew you were hurting. If you knew it, then I wouldn't need to talk to you, But, so it's, I try to keep people in my life today. Coming back to West Virginia, I found that NA had grown in Fairmont. And it used to be the smallest part of, of our area down there. It's like people were like, I loved people in Fairmont. My best friend was from Fairmont, and I was calling him on the phone a lot. And we didn't share poetry. He let me be me. He let me be sick as I was, and he loved me as I was. And he was honest with me. And he was probably, because he was sick too. And I hated it when he passed away, when people would share all this sick shit that he did. But, I can't, I'm powerless, because he helped me. He had 15 years clean when he died. I want to die clean. I do. I don't want to be doing something degrading. I just peaceful, But I've started getting sponsees in fucking Fairmont, and I'm like, what are they thinking? Because I was like, I said, you got good recovery. I said, not. Okay. But, it's like, I was working on myself. I was working steps. I got back involved in service. I was going to area. And I kind of I think I put the shock of God into North Central. And my time is up, I guess. I'm tired a lot. All right. But I have the best sponsees. I can tell you that. I love them. They love me. And, I think I can keep my feet dead center in Narcotics Anonymous, so I don't have to worry about going anywhere. So I try to stay centered in the fellowship. And it's kind of hard to, run away when there are people who love you, telling you that you can't. That's all I got.